want you to close your eyes for a moment and imagine this. It's June of 2022 or 2023. You and your entire graduating class will be walking out of the principal's bowls, hopefully with both your Appleby and OSSD diplomas in hand. What would most of your troubles worrying you now matter then? And what would you miss about high school? Now open your eyes. Good afternoon, my name is Justina Miao, and I'm here to challenge you to view the life by the moment, be grateful, to view obstacles and challenges in a new light as we approach the end of high school and the beginning of a new chapter in our lives. Let me start off with a story about my grandpa. My grandpa grew up in Indonesia in an affluent and privileged Chinese immigrant family. Being the eldest son and a stellar student, he received unparalleled attention. As he reached the end of high school, an anti-Chinese movement broke out in Indonesia. Being Chinese Indonesian, it meant that he was targeted. More specifically, he was not allowed to attend any post-secondary institutions in Indonesia. This left him with two choices, either to follow his entire graduating class and move back to China, or he was to follow his parents' plans for him to go to school in Singapore. Singapore was a safe bet, a well-planned and comfortable life that cannot go too wrong. His family strongly advised against him moving back to China, where he would lose most of the privileges that his parents fought hard to gain. On the other hand, all his friends were moving back together, and leaving for Singapore meant separation from his peers. What was his decision? Like most teenagers, he decided to defy his parents and embark on a ship that led him back to China. However, little did he know that he would never be able to make it back to Indonesia. Once he got off the ship docking in China, his passports and all Indonesian documentations were confiscated by authorities, meaning that he cannot return no matter how much he wanted to. To make matters worse, shortly after landing in China, the Cultural Revolution began. His foreign ties made him a target during this period, which further restricted communication between him and his family, as frequent overseas communication is deemed as suspicious for spy activity and would place him in danger. This was a hard hit for my grandpa. He was left alone in a foreign country he has never before stepped foot on. At 17, he barely realized that boarding the ship to China was the last time he would ever see his parents. Both of his parents passed away before the Cultural Revolution ended. All he really could do then after knowing about his parents' death was to send a letter home to state his condolences. I used to ask him, "Do you regret this choice of moving across countries and leaving everything you know behind?" Expecting a certain regret, his answer surprised me. He said that it was unfortunate that he was never able to see his family again, but the important thing was to do the best he can do in China, and that regret led him nowhere. He said that he always had hope and optimism in his heart. It was not an easy journey for him to be facing a new environment alone. To make it in this situation, he studied hard in a new education system, becoming one of the only members of his graduating class to make it into a university, which secured him a teaching job in Shanghai. Although teaching wasn't his first choice of career, he eventually felt a deep connection with his students and showed care and excellence. He was placed to be one of the teachers who led and prepared graduate students for the Gaokao, which is a university entrance exam that dictates acceptances. He managed to maintain this unparalleled optimism and lively outlook throughout his lifetime, which was especially apparent when my grandpa was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer at the start of the pandemic. Having lung cancer in the middle of COVID-19 was difficult. Hospital visits became dangerous and risky. His condition made him immunocompromised during a worldwide pandemic. Making matters worse, the negative side effects that came along with both the disease and treatment for cancer were also weakening his body. He was not able to do many of the things he used to be able to do, and a special hard hit for an active person like my grandpa. Despite these difficulties, my grandpa maintained a positive outlook. It was hard seeing the cancer patient in him. We would still race each other on walks in a trail, roleplay different militaries that were depicted in shows he liked to watch, and cook his and my childhood favorite dishes. He seemed as lively as ever. For me, at first, it was hard to come to terms that my grandpa was sick. I wanted to brush it aside, wanted to forget the fact that we might not have that much time left together. However, it is impossible to run away from reality. In the back of my mind, I was scared of what was to come. There were two important turning points that taught me lessons. First turning point came one day coming home from school. I was not in a good mood due to possibly a bad test score, and my grandpa that day were also not happy with a couple of my study habits and were trying to give me advice. I got annoyed and showed it. I left the room and slammed my door. When I shut my door, I suddenly realized that I was taking limited time away from possible interactions with my grandpa. I was getting caught up in small events that I was wasting another opportunity of brushing aside an important relationship in my life. I instantly went into a spiral thinking about the limited time I have left with him, and the facade I built around forgetting that he was sick came suddenly crashing down. At that point, I reflected on this interaction and asked myself one question. Would this little conversation matter in 5 days, 5 weeks? And my conclusion was this little annoyance would not matter, but if this were to create a division or to create a negative experience between us, it will come back at me. I knew that what I have done by leaving and shutting my door has hurt him. And what was this over? Just a small little event that probably would not even matter in 15 minutes. I laid on my bed that night and promised myself one thing: to not let small things like these that I do not have control over and probably will not matter come in between this relationship, and to savor and enjoy every moment I had with him. I wanted to give him and myself the most positive experience possible. So I decided to spend time with him, to not get caught up on small details or events, and took initiative to be with him. This allowed me to build a much closer relationship. A second turning point came when my grandpa was taken off chemotherapy and put into palliative care because he developed a resistance to a drug he was taking. The hovering thought became concrete. In the near future, I would have to face loss. I remember I was sitting in the car with my mom when she told me this. I felt extremely scared of what was to come and asked my mom, "How long?" 6 months, she replied. Immediately, she saw the expression of my face turn gloom, and she said something I can never forget. "Well, you know that your grandpa survived a heart attack 10 years back, right? Think of the time right now that we have as gifted to us. Don't think of the coming months as a timer counting down. Think of each moment and each day as a gift." The philosophy really sank in. Every moment I had with him, cooking together, walking together in the trails, even talking about my upcoming academic events, I saw as a gift. The best I could wish for him right now is to live his days with a relatively healthy body. When my grandpa passed away, I grieved. But amongst the grief, I felt gratitude. I remember going through my phone, looking at the photos I took with him. Here, I truly felt a sense of happiness and gratefulness. I was forever grateful for the time we spent together and the memories I created with him. And I knew that I did the best I could do in this situation. I was able to look past my fear and spend as much time as possible with my grandpa. I lived in the moment. Moving forward, I took this philosophy and expanded it into other aspects of my life. To not live in regret, nor live in the fear of something in the future. I appreciate what I have now. I feel grateful that I'm healthy, in a good environment, have supportive friends and family, and even standing here today to share my story is something I'm grateful for. In high school, we all might be facing a lot of stress. And we are facing and are going to face even more obstacles and challenges. We're going to make decisions that we will regret. However, if there's anything I want you to take away from this speech, it is these 3 points. Firstly, we will face hard situations and make decisions we regret. But I want to remind everyone that there's always a way out of this. There's always something you can do. Whether that be working towards a plan B or even just changing your attitude. I believe that if you can't change a situation, the only thing left to change is your attitudes towards it. For example, during the COVID-19 pandemic, we all had plans that were canceled. We might all have been there sitting in our rooms, feeling empty, unmotivated, and like we're missing out. But sitting in these emotions wouldn't improve the situation. Lacking sports and outdoor times? Go out on walks or runs around the neighborhood. Missing hangouts? Have video chats or online parties with friends. Once you started to do the best you could do, negative emotions will start to phase out. Secondly, when there's something that you are upset about, that either your general well-being or your relationships are affected by these emotions, ask yourself a question. Would this matter in a couple of moments, days, or months? If this wouldn't even matter in a couple of moments, days, or months, why let it destroy your experience of the present in which you have control over right now? Lastly, I want to challenge you to view each coming day we have here in university, with your family, and with your friends as a gift. To feel grateful about the things we're gifted with, rather feeling a sense of loss about the things we're missing. Once you have a more glass half full outlook in life, you will be more lively, happy, and generally more positive. Although this might be a little bit of a stretch, see obstacles and challenges as a gift or an opportunity. If there wasn't anything that challenged us, there would not be growth. My grandpa probably would not have adopted such an optimistic outlook if it wasn't for his grand move to China. I know senior twos in the room are facing a lot of challenges with college applications, but it can be a good opportunity for growth and to learn more about ourselves and have a more concrete idea of a future. Now, thinking back to your questions I had at the beginning, if the trouble worrying you now does not matter in a couple of moments, try not to let it take time away from living your best and happiest high school life. And do the things you will miss more often, and remind yourself to live in the moment. Thank you, and please rise to sing 6 by 6, She Comes Sailing on the Wind.